It is the next day. It is the next day. All I'm going to say is the old Fever / Caitlin Clark absolutely demolished the Sky. 35-point blowout. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how they did that. So, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be watching streams back, or I'm going to be watching all the games back, and for the rest of the season, you're going to be seeing me the next day breaking down the games and talking about it with a clear head, not kind of like affected by the hype. So not like really affected by kind of in the moment. You're going to see my initial reactions, and then we're going to talk about how the Fever either won or how the Fever either won or lost games. So let me know if you guys are enjoying this type of content. If you are, please subscribe. We are so close to 46,000 subscribers, lads. We're not going to hit 50 by the end of this month, but we're trying to hit like 60k by the end of the WNBA season. 75k puts us on great track by the end of next season for 100k, and I'm trying to get another 100k plaque at some stage. But either way, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't really matter. If you guys do enjoy the content, subscribe. But most of all, just so that you are more likely to get notifications when I do go live. I'm going to be going live at the end of every single Fever game. Obviously, the next one is Tuesday. I'm going to be live for every game, and I'm going to be live after every game. But we got to talk about how the Indiana Fever won that game. And early on in the game, I think even when the Sky had a little bit of a lead, it looked like the Fever were in control. It looked like the Fever were in control. There were a lot of missed layups. There were a lot of kind of missed reads. And it all kind of stemmed from the Fever's defense. The Fever's defense looked exceptional. And you also have to take into account one of their probably second or third most versatile defender, Sophie Cunningham, was out, which is big. Michaela Timpson did really well when she came on. I thought Dantas is not in match sharpness yet. A lot of people were saying when I was saying Dantas wasn't up to the speed, they were like, "Oh, you said Dantas was in great shape." There is genuinely a difference between being in shape and sharpness. Like Aaliyah Boston last season, it wasn't that she was out of shape; she was out of sharpness when she didn't play at all. Aaliyah Boston looked sharper this year, and that was by the way, like Caitlin Clark's obviously she was the best player, but Aaliyah Boston's game, like you don't ignore 19 and 13 with 5 blocks, like you cannot ignore that. And with a little bit of like jitters to start the game, a little bit nervous to start the game, she was like the positions that Aaliyah Boston was being able to get herself in was just absolutely next level. Was absolutely next level. But still, at the end of the day, look, we've got you've got a Fever team that was really, really nice. So I'm going to talk more about how the Fever won the game than how the Sky lost it. But the Fever won this game by their defense and running in transition. Simple as that. Simple as that. The Fever, when they did what they did last year, the Fever have two things that they do that teams really are going to struggle with guarding. They have one player that's going to draw double teams from anywhere, from deep. They have a half-court pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, and they have transition. And if this team gets stops, and the fact is they inbound the ball quick so they can get transition opportunities off scores. And with the Chicago Sky have a real issue, and it was the same issue as last year. They have a real issue with getting back on defense. Like the Sky it was the reason why they beat them by 30 last year. And it's the reason why even when the Fever stunk at the start of the year, they were still able to beat the Sky. And it was the reason why the time the Sky beat the Fever was because Christy Sides, they were up 15, and Christy Sides goes, Erica, she throws out the Pokeball and takes out. Like she's playing doubles. And, Caitlin Clark have been spamming those surfs. Been spamming those surfs and taking out the entire team. And she just takes back Caitlin Clark and goes, Erica Wheeler, I choose you. Let's walk the play down. Let's try dribble out the clock from halfway through the third quarter. And it did not work. Last year, they beat the Sky 3 out of 4 times. Beat them by 30 once when they pushed at the Sky for 40 minutes. And then the one game they lost was when they tried to dribble the clock out. And they did not do that this year. This year, it was as soon as the Sky felt a little bit of weakness, they kept going. And that's the one thing I really liked, where it's like the Fever, and it happened as well after the flagrant foul, is the Fever thrive in chaos, which is why I think the Fever are going to struggle big time against the Minnesota Lynx. I don't think they're going to be able to force the chaos on the Minnesota Lynx. I don't think they're going to be able to force the chaos on the Aces. I don't think they're going to be able to force the chaos on the Liberty. That's not saying they don't have a chance against any of those teams. I think they got a very good chance. The Aces don't look up to much, but the Aces still have Angel Wilson. They're going to slow it down and try to dump the ball into her. They're not going to let the chaos take, like, they're composed enough. They are, like, they're good enough, and they are experienced enough to not let the chaos destroy them. And the Chicago Sky, they look shook. And there's going to be a lot of bad teams that are going to look shook against the Fever. A lot of young teams, a lot of bad teams. A lot of young and bad teams are going to try run up and down with the Fever. And there's not a single team that can live with that. There is not a single team that can live with the Indiana Fever playing like that. And it is just straight up a thing that I don't think anyone thought we were going to see coming to this year. Like, I think a lot of people thought the Fever were going to be good, and a lot of people thought the Fever were going to be good in transition. But not only, and they had the pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston. Obviously, look, the pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston was something that worked last year. But now, you've got Alexi didn't shoot well, but Alexi was wide open for all four of those threes. Dantas got a wide open three. DeWanna Bonner had two wide open corner threes. Natasha Howard, I know, shot a three, but like now they have Natasha Howard. And I thought Natasha Howard was exceptional yesterday as well. Like, her defense was really, really good. Again, she has a little bit of a problem where she's kind of overly physical on the defensive end. I do think different referees would have called her on for more fouls in that game. But her hands are still quick. She can get her body in the line. She is like the best. She is the Michael Jordan of the Nalissa Smiths. Like, her defensive positioning isn't great. She does a lot of the Nalissa Smith things, like throws herself out of position to try to get blocks and steals. But her hands are quick enough, and her wingspan's good enough, and she's active enough that kind of can work at times. And she's strong enough and quick enough. Like, she's the Michael Jordan of the Nalissa Smiths. And the difference is that you actually have to, now send bodies at her, because it's for the first time in a long time, Natasha Howard is in exclusive single coverage. And we saw what happened as soon as they started sending double coverage at Natasha Howard. They were almost denying the freaking entry pass, and shooters were getting wide open. And that's how the Fever are so dangerous. And this is a game where DeWanna Bonner was nervous trying to score because she was trying to set the record to become the third highest scorer of all time. And also congratulations to DeWanna Bonner. Like, it is scary what the Fever can do. Like, early on in the game, they were dominating. They were just missing. For the totality of the game, this was a 50-point game. Like, based on shot quality, this was a 50-point game. And you can say that the Sky just missed a lot of shots. And that happens. When you're shooting as many threes as this, with as many streaky shooters as this, like, to say Kia Nurse isn't the streakiest shooter in the WNBA is wrong. Kia Nurse can be good. Kia Nurse can genuinely be a good player. But she is the single streakiest shooter in the entire WNBA. Like, 4 points, and one was a fadeaway tough shot over Caitlin. And, like, the Sky are going to miss, and you can leave streaky shooters open. Like, you don't, if you're the Fever, you live with them shooting this many threes, because there's not one player on this team other than maybe, if Kia Nurse is starting to get hot, then you're kind of worried. But other than that, you're fine with that on the defensive end, because they completely control the inside. I understand, again, Angel Reese Cardoso had 10 offensive rebounds. How many of them were off their own misses? Like, it's funny when you read a box score. I remember when you can see a player clearly dominate on the offensive end, on the offensive glass, and then this game did not look like they were dominating the offensive glass. It didn't in any way. And I thought the Fever did a good job of controlling their defensive glass, even though it didn't look like it. Like, they got a lot of defensive rebounds, and they limited second chance points, and there were a lot of maybe offensive rebounds and bad second chance attempts. So I have to say, the Fever, just the way they played this game, is exactly how you want to play, and it's exactly how you want to play against a team like Chicago. It's exactly how you want to play against a team that plays flat hedge, that has a slow center in Cardoso who cannot guard the pick and roll, who cannot blitz the pick and roll. You choose, instead of getting Angel Reese in the pick and roll who can blitz it, you make sure the slower centers blitz in the pick and roll. In their next game against the Dream, they're going to be probably abusing Brittany Griner around the pick and roll as well. And Natasha Howard, who just runs so hard to the basket and gets layups out of it. I think Natasha Howard could have 20 points in the next game. She's going to have a field day. Also, Leah Boston's in the best shape she's ever been in. Leah Boston was sprinting up and down on that floor. She was beating Cardoso every single time up and down the floor. And just because she was missing layups, the amount of people were saying how she was out of shape. No, she was nervous. She was nervous. And you look at the Indiana Fever, and it's like, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when they play against a team that matches up to them and there's no clear mismatches. The Fever had mismatches everywhere. There were mismatches everywhere for the Fever. And when you're playing against a team who's got a slow center, your best offenses are going to be abusing the slow center in the pick and roll and running in transition. And that is almost what the Fever did. And unlike last year, when they go ahead doing that and their coach would say, nah, let's slow it down, Stephanie White realizes, you know what? We're actually winning because we run. We don't need to stop running because we're winning. We're winning because we run. And that's the big difference between these two coaches. That is the big difference. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.